another failed World Cup qualifying campaign for the men's national team. A lot of questions are being asked. It's a difficult time, especially when there was so much hope going into this campaign. On paper, the men's national team may have been one of the most talented that our country has had in a long time. Where do you go now? What are the steps that need to be taken so it's just not a repeat of 8 years ago going into qualifying again, 4 years ago going into qualifying? What needs to be different, do you think, in order to be organized and to be successful for the next World Cup qualifying campaign?
Yeah, I think, I can't speak about 8 and 4 years ago, but I definitely can speak about this campaign. I think one of the lessons learned, and obviously everybody's gutted in terms of not getting into the next round, starting, I'm sure, with the players. Who would have thought that on May 31st, after we had a great result against Brazil and the team looked fantastic, that 60 days after that, or approximately, that we would be out of World Cup qualifying. But I think it's an attitude, and one of the things that we need to create, and I think that's where the CSA has failed, to be quite blunt with you, is we do not have a winning attitude from top to bottom. We have this participatory attitude, and where it's more important to go to a provincial championship or a national championship rather than success at an international level. Now, that's not everybody, but I think it permeates throughout the organization. And I think that has to change. We have to have a winning mentality. The first day of preparation for the next World Cup campaign starts now. We have to look at what's happened, address all the issues, and prepare, and not to some people are going to think, making analogies to war is a little bit over the top. But you know what? For those of us that have traveled to these countries, whether it be fans or players or administrators, it is war. These people treat it like war without, obviously, weapons, and in some countries there is weapons, but we have to treat it like that. We have to prepare a battle plan already going into our next campaign. And then from a 30,000 feet standpoint, as an association, we also have to look at, fine, there is that part of the campaign, but we also have to now, with our strategic plan and with that, we also have to be patient in the sense that don't always look for the next 4 years or 2 years. We have to look long-term. All the successful federations in the world have had long-term plans. And what they have found is when they've put in a long-term plan, the successes come earlier.
Now, when you talk about plans and looking forward, obviously all of this is going to be based around money, dollars. Where is it going to come from? Registration, through sponsorship, wherever. Is there issues right now within the association where people either on the executive or the board of directors don't agree with how much money should be spent or where the money is going, how much player registration should be raised? Is there consensus among them, or is this a battle that's going to have to be fought within the Canadian Soccer Association with those differing opinions on how to get to the World Cup?
Well, I think money is always a battle, whether it's in your own family, and we're no different. We have a Canadian soccer family, and there is issues. There is people that I believe need to start believing that what our priorities are. Obviously, in my personal opinion, and I think the opinion of most fans, is that priority should be the national team. Quite honestly, that's why I'm sitting here. That's what people are interested in. Yes, we are responsible for other areas, but our core business is national teams. And the flagship of that is our senior men's team. Let's face it, that's what you're going to report on and other people report on, and that's what people ask about. So we need to recognize that, putting into place all the other support mechanisms for that. Money will be an issue. There's a budget that's going to the table in December that needs to be voted on and talked about. But yes, we know we are limited in how we generate revenue. We need to do a much better job in revenue generation and business development. One of the things we've never established is a real business plan. And through our General Secretary, our CEO, Peter Montagliani, who's had experience in that with other federations, he's already identified that one of the key areas is our business development and accessing revenue through other streams. But the reality of football in a country like Canada, and in other countries as well, is that there is always going to be a levy, a system of a levy system. And the reality is there seems to be this dichotomy where the end user, the mother and the father that cut the check, are really, not that they don't care, but are not really tuned in into whether they pay 150 or 200. But there seems to be that middle ground between the caretakers of the game, perhaps at the lower level, that seem to always question why that has to happen. Obviously, we need to say to them, listen, this is what it's being used for. You don't just ask for money. And I think our plan has outlined that, you know, the budget is going to the national youth teams. These are players that need international experience, right, on a consistent basis, not 1 year yes and 1 year no, on a consistent basis. So when I talk to you about 2018 and 2022, those players are going to have 40, 50 international caps. You know, and it doesn't matter what the CSA looks like. If you're not going to get that to your youth team players, you are just asking for a favor.